Welcome back to the Inner Self Rising podcast, a podcast for free thinkers focused on self-development and living authentically. Today, I have an amazing guest. All my guests are amazing, but I have a special guest today with me. His name is Ali. Bro, thank you so much for coming and agreeing to have a conversation with me.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah,
good to be here.
You too, brother. You too. So how do you pronounce his surname? I tried to, but I was like,
okay.
I can't do it.
Beik, like bake.
Bake.
Beiikzadeh.
Beiikzadeh.
Zadeh is like a very, very common prefix on a last name on an Iranian. Like if you find someone with Zadeh in the last name, 99.9% chance they're going to be Iranian.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
Beik is like a Turkish, I think, but ancestral-wise. But yeah, Beiikzadeh.
Okay.
Quite simple.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. That's cool. All right. So you're born and raised in Sydney.
I was born in Iran, came here when I was 1. Yeah,
okay.
To put it simply, my whole life been in Australia. Yeah, more Australian than anything.
Yeah, okay. So that kind of question, that kind of, because I came to Australia when I was 4.
Yeah.
So I wasn't born here.
Yeah.
But Australia's almost all I know. I mean, so I'm originally from Somalia.
Yeah.
Went to Somalia for the first time back in 1999.
Yeah.
Lived there for 2 years and then came back. So I went there when I was 12 for the first time, came back when I was 14. And then so before that I was in Australia. And then after that, I've just been here ever since. So when someone asks me if I'm born here, I'm always like, well, no, but
culturally, yes.
Yeah, man. Like it's
culturally,
home.
you identify with Australianized way, but like your background is Somali. My background is Iranian. Same thing. I'm more Australian than anything.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to know because for me, my Australianness is like I feel like I've had to. It's so strange always saying this, but I've had to like integrate myself into Australian culture because I grew up Muslim, very conservative, and like in a bubble outside of like wider Australia. So it's almost like everyone I grew up with almost didn't really identify as Australian. They were Somali first and foremost. They were Muslim, Somali, and the us and them was very clear when I was growing up. The rest of Australia is them, and we're us.
Exactly.
So, and I grew up in an environment where there was a lot of contempt for wider Australia, even though you get educated. They're like, get educated, do your thing, work, make the most of all this opportunity. But at the end of the day, they're still your enemies. They're still not
utter hypocrisy. Yeah,
it does my fucking head in.
Fully understand it.
It does my fucking head in because I'm like, why the hell are you here then? Like, it's just like it's crazy. I don't even know like how to even unpack. To what extent do you even unpack that? Because it's crazy. It's ungrateful. It's just and I've been accused of like loving the white man, quote unquote, for being grateful living in Australia. But I'm like, no.
I've heard this before. Self-hating black man.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I've
heard that stuff a lot, man. It's ridiculous. It's rather like to say that you're just being real with yourself. It just shows your true, honest nature, as opposed to being a hypocrite and constantly trying to victimize yourself, right?
Yes.
Because this is what the root of these ideas comes from. At least I like to think it from these sort of fundamentalist radical movements, whether it's the Salafites, which is like the Sunni fundamentalists, or like
I grew up Salafi. Yeah,
there you go. Or the Shiites, where the Islamic regime in Iran.
Right.
They like to sort of perpetuate their ideology of Mahdiism. The 12th Imam is coming, and therefore we have to spread our ideology. But the West is Satan. You can live in the West. Yeah. You can embrace democracy, but you got to use democracy to get rid of secular democracy. Yeah. It is that like utter fucking hypocrisy that you just cannot fathom. But the worst part of it is like, the fundamentalists are fundamentalists. They're actually honest. Yeah. But the ones that I don't understand are those Western liberals like us.
Yeah.
But they try to entertain them because of cultural sensitivity or some bullshit like that. You know?
It's terrible, man. It's terrible. That used to confuse me so much because this particular group we're talking about, the far left, the progressives, the quote unquote liberals, and Islamists. Their values are completely different. It's
Exactly.
oil and water.
Right.
It's oil and water. It's a last kind of grouping you'd ever think of.
Yeah.
But you learn a little bit about history, and you learn a little bit about history and people's. Because at the end of the day, I look at it as good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
It's a battle of good and evil. That's what it is. And so there are a certain amount of certain individuals within the West who also hate the West themselves,
Yes.
which is the strangest thing to me ever. So I've got a book coming out this year.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, cheers, bro. Cheers. So I had a publisher I published a book a while ago.
Yep.
That same publisher was an extreme Marxist. Ended up he was going to publish my second book, and then he ended up withdrawing from publishing my book.
Wow.
Because the content of my book basically it's
Coward.
it was just the biggest eye opener for me. So he had withdrawn from publishing my book because he believed my content was Islamophobic. This is a white guy, all right? This is a white guy, an atheist. He hates religion, but for whatever reason, Islam's the exception. It is the exception for him.
To quickly interrupt, there's a funny meme. I don't know if I sent it to you, but like it's literally like some evangelical Christian dude coming up to like a lefty saying, "Oh, you should revert back to Christianity." And then the lefty would be like, "Oh, there's no evidence for that, so no, thank you." But then like a Islamist will come up to the same lefty and be like, "Oh, you should, I'm a Muslim, you should look into the Quran." And then the lefty dude would be like, "Holy shit, that's so cool. Can I eat your shit?" It's fucking hilarious. I'm like, yes, this is exactly it.
Bro, it's completely absurd. It's completely absurd, man. And so that publisher of mine, everything evil, it's the West. It's the West to blame. So
then leave.
But he doesn't want to because, they're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. At the end of the day, he doesn't want to because he knows how valuable it is to live in the West. So he, the way he justified, giving Islam a kind of different concession was because of colonialism.
Right.
And so colonialism is to blame for why, for Islam's, authoritarian ideology. And you just look at this person and you just think, oh, you're just full of hate.
Yet some of the roots of Islam is predicated on colonialism and slavery and subjugation by the sword.
Absolutely. I mean, Islam means submission.
Yeah.
It's total submission.
Yeah.
So I don't know what is any more
hypocritical,
or
contradictory.
Yes, or speaks to the idea of imperialism, colonialism. It's the idea of because Islam is an expansionist religion.
Yes.
You give da'wah.
Dawah. That's
The
right.
whole point of da'wah is to convert the masses. It's a numbers game. So when I was leaving Islam, so I used to this is the thing about Islam. It has many faces. It will morph. It will form itself based on your own sensibilities. It mirrors you. So for me, I used to once upon a time believe in Islam. Right. So I used to believe that there was only one God and Muhammad was the final and last messenger but I really believed in the faith. And when I say really believed, I always had questions because there's things that are just uncomfortable. Like killing gays. I'm gay, for example. So like killing gays, and that was like, oh my God,
straight in the face.
What the hell?
Yeah.
There's no way you can go around that. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the kind of person that like played mental gymnastics.
Yes.
Because there are Muslim gay people who play that gymnastics.
That constant like cognitive dissonance where they're trying to still justify the doctrine without reform. But anyway.
Yeah. But, you can't really even reform. If you reform Islam, it becomes a whole different thing altogether.
Well, that's what happened to the Christianity Project.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that the same sort of maturing project happens with Islam.
Yeah.
But anyways, sorry.
Yeah. Do you think it'll happen in our lifetime?
Fuck no.
No. Yeah,
Dude, I'm a huge pessimist, unfortunately. And I don't have hope for humanity. If you have, like,
yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
That's why I love my wildlife. I love my animals. I don't like the human race, to be honest. As George Carlin once beautifully said, humans in the individual form, like as individuals, are some of the most beautiful souls you ever sit down and connect with.
Yeah.
But when they're in masses, we are just the most ferocious, vindictive, bloodthirsty, sadomasochistic group of animals to ever exist on the planet. And frankly, I'm not an absolutist when it comes to truth, but that is the absolute truth.
Okay, interesting. So, because you're an animal activist.
Yeah.
Is that how you identify?
Sure,
yourself?
Conservationist, animal rights activist.
Okay. So I believe, like, I've had to come to this conclusion based on my own thinking and all of my life experience, that we're just evolved animals over time.
Indeed we are,
Okay? We're just evolved animals over time.
We're one species of ape. Yeah.
Yes. And the reason why I came to that conclusion, because I was trying to figure out why certain people do really evil things. I just could not understand their desire, the want. Because I've seen people do really bad things, and I've seen them do it in a way that they're like really enjoying the process and really taking it in, and like no room for even like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't do this. No question. I've seen that. And so I've just thought, what the hell? Like, what's going on? How is this even a possibility? And so I came to the conclusion, all right, we're evolved animals over time, and these people who are doing these evil things have yet to evolve out of that animalistic side of ourselves.
Yes.
They've yet to become, and so for me, like, the Enlightenment is a process of evolving out of that, like, for lack of better words, like eating the other.
Yes.
That's And
I actually really like that 5 pillars that you wrote about inner self-rising, the philosophy behind it. I'm a true believer in that, man. That's fucking awesome. Yeah.
Man, I'm glad to know. Yeah. So been kind of developing it in real life. So on my Instagram stories, if you see when I do the hashtag One Life, it's referring to that. So I'm trying to develop it in real time as a guide for me, like as a way to live out my own values, to kind of get to the truth. Cause I don't want to live a life that's meaningless.
Yes.
I don't want to live a life that's that makes me, that I don't feel alive. I'm not connected to the truth. Mm-hmm. I do think there's truth out there.
I particularly find solace in what you said about we did not consent to be here, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, since we're here, we should have the opportunity to find meaning and purpose towards our own life, right? And once we do that, Rumi, one of the greatest poets of all time and philosophers, once beautifully said, so simply, the seeker becomes the finder. That is a huge mantra in my life, right? Just go out and try and see shit. You're going to find it, okay?
Yeah.
And that finding, that prying to seek, will be your ultimate truth to your purpose in life, right? The unfortunate reality about many of these individuals who seem to be so hypocritical about all these different ideologies, hating the West, death to the West, or whatever it may be, is, believe it or not, I actually feel sorry for them. They're lost. They have no purpose. So they need a tribe in order to find that sense of belonging. And then they're like, oh, I've got the hype, I've got the dopamine going now. And but I believe, I'm a firm believer that if they find some degree of purpose in their life, then they start to be a critical thinker, and they go into this direction of enlightenment, one life, as you like to call it, in these pillars that you talk about. And I guess we can call that the answer, right?
To
finding truth in your life.
And
solace and enlightenment. Yeah.
That's right. For me, the thing that makes us human is thinking.
Yes.
I think that's one thing that makes Islam really evil, is that it forces you to not think.
Yes.
I mean, you can't think. You're not a human being. You've lost the ability to be a human being, and I think that's the whole submission. You know, forget the killing of gays, apostates. You know, forcing women to wear hijab,
Blasphemy,
all of that
all
sort of stuff.
yeah.
But forget all of that. Just if you put that onto one side for a second,
Sure.
I think the biggest tragedy with Islam is that it forces people to not think, because not thinking leads to all these things.
Yeah.
You know, the ability to not, you know, you can have good, you know, I know good Muslims, individuals, you know, who are otherwise good, but support barbaric, evil things. And you look at them and you think, how is that even possible? Like, you won't cross the road until the green lights, are, you know, but you're okay with apostasy laws.
Yeah.
That's, it's Allah's law, and who am I to judge Allah's law? And it's like, and you realize,
Or blasphemy laws.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
like, I would argue that's probably on par with apostasy. Blasphemy. You can't say anything.
yeah,
Every single Islamic country, Muslim majority country in the world today, was it 51, 52? They have stringent blasphemy laws. In some cases, death penalty.
I think about 12 or 13 countries practice the death penalty.
That's fucked.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
You and I would be...
Oh, yeah, off for that. Yeah, off for the, you know, off for their heads.
See you there, brother.
Yeah. Right. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. So, like, my dad died when I was 15, and he passed away in Somalia. And so I want to go and visit his grave, but there's no way I can do that, because if I go there, I'm
At what
gone.
stage for you was it like, it is a red line now, I cannot go back?
Yeah, it was. Look, it was an amalgamation of years of questions, years of pushback, years of observing hypocrisy, years of observing just realizing that the point was not to really believe. The point was to just pledge your allegiance to Islam.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really that's horrible. And also, I grew up with an abusive mother who used Islam as a way to exert control and justify her abuse.
Wow.
So that was a major one as well.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know, why would, if Allah is this all wise, all knowing, and if all it took for him to create me and you and the heavens and the stars and the universe or whatever was to say be, and it was, then how come he was unable to really stipulate in the Quran or Hadith that, you know, parents, the idea of child abuse, because in Islam there's no concept of child abuse really.
Yeah.
There isn't. So I'm like, how did he miss that?
Yeah.
Surely if he created all of us, he would know that there are going to be bad parents that are going to abuse their children and use the religion to justify their abuse of their children. So that was a huge one for me, you know, and also my sexuality as well.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I didn't choose this. I know that for a fact I didn't choose this. So why did he create me this way? This is why when I was Muslim, and then mandate that I should be punished.
Yes. Yes.
So you know, create me this way, live a miserable life, right? Miserable life. Miss out on one of the most amazing experiences in one's life, just falling in love and having a companion. So miss out on that, be isolated and lonely for the rest of my life, and then when I die, I go to hell.
Yeah. So he'd be omnipotent and evil at the same time.
Exactly.
You can't be merciful. Like, it's such contradicting like statements.
It is.
What baffles me the most, man, with so many cases like yourself, I've seen where the parents would have this degree of resentment for their own fucking children.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're the way that they are, right? Whatever it may be, doesn't matter. Sexuality, freedom of thought, anything, don't care. And so that resentment comes to play. And nowadays I see it all over social media, right? Cases like yourself. And Islamists commenting under those posts, for example, just like saying the parents did the right thing. The parents did that because of their love for you. Or like that's the most like docile, kindest comment I've seen. Yeah. And then you have shit like, yeah, fuck you, you're gonna burn in hell, shit like that. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
how do people not see this? And it's, again, I feel sorry for those people because
Yeah.
they're lost. They don't have a sense of thought. They're just like sheep. I have to think like this because God said so.
Yeah.
And it justifies a lot of evil things.
What I've noticed is those individuals, when it comes to their own, like, because Islam doesn't really, you can't be an individual. So it erodes everyone's sense of individuality, whether you're a gay person, a woman, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I've noticed, that some of these individuals, they'll live a complete double life. Okay, they'll live a double life, and they'll go against everything that they're preaching others to practice. So I'm like, it's okay for you.
Fast during the month of Ramadan. Last night, go fucking get some lines up.
Man,
yeah.
I had a mate when I was Muslim. I had a mate, and this guy used to drink. I started drinking late, by the way. This guy was drinking way before I even tasted alcohol. Okay, quite really religious guy. And he'd fight Thursday, Friday,
Get
on a
on.
bender, do whatever. Saturday morning he has to go to madrasa. And he was a teacher at the madrasa. So he'd go to the madrasa and he's like,
rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah, complete hypocrite.
Yeah.
Complete hypocrite.
Yeah.
And
Oh, good.
utter hypocrite. But he would be the first person pointing fingers at everyone else.
There you go.
So when I was leaving Islam, he was like, you can't do that. What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do that? Well, this is not what we're meant to do.
Yep.
And teaches you how tribal the religion is. It's more about pledging your allegiance to the faith rather than really, really believing in it. As long as you look like you believe it, as long as you say the politically correct things, you're all right. You're all right. But I took the religion seriously. So I took it seriously in the sense that I believed in hell and heaven. I believed in its doctrine. And insofar as like, and when I say that, I mean like I believed that, you should pray because if you don't pray, it's sinful. So do pray, because Islam says don't steal. So don't steal because it's haram, etc. Even though you can invade other people's countries and steal their women and, you can do all those sorts of things. It's just,
Rape is justified if they're like war victims and shit. But anyway.
Yeah. Right. So coming back to like, the woke and their relationship with Islamists, I've just, so when the Me Too movement happened, like back in 2017, I think it was, I was for it initially. I was, happy. I'm like, because that like sexual assault and rape, that is an issue, right? It's an issue and it happens,
Absolutely.
It's always been an issue and it's something that needs to be addressed.
Yep.
And then I was really happy. I'm like, all right, finally, people who experience that are finally going to get a platform to actually talk about what's happened to them, and there'll be some semblance of justice and, moving forward. And then it became this crazy thing of, believe all women just off the jump. Leave all women off the jump. Men are evil. All men are perpetrators. All women are innocent victims. And I struggled with that concept. I'm like, no, I've known women who are evil, who lie about rape, lie about sexual assault, all those sorts of things. So why, number one, are we infantilizing women? Number one, because if women are equal to men, then women also have the capacity to do evil just like men.
Yeah.
So we all have the capacity to do good and evil. And so I thought, this whole believe all women concept was really harmful to women who have actually experienced rape and sexual assault, because there are going to be women who come out and lie about their experiences. Anyway, so I was really, that whole Me Too believe all women hashtag really bothered me. Really bothered me because I do believe there is an attack on masculinity. I do personally believe that. And then moving forward, you get all these feminists who have now gotten in bed with Islamists, and I think back to 2017.
Don't need to name names. Yeah.
I'm like, what happened to believe all women? What happened to, what's going on there?
Brother, what we're seeing today, okay, in a way it's good because it reveals what these people truly are.
Yeah.
And it is, in a nutshell, moral narcissism.
Yeah.
Your narcissistic nature coming out and saying, because I want this to be the center of attention, look at me, I'm empathetic. Look at me, I'm moral. So you've got to jump on every bandwagon of some sort of social justice movement and say, look, I am standing up for this, right? And this is exactly the epitome of what we're seeing today, right? We're seeing these like hypocritical individuals where they'd say that they're a feminist, but then they'd stand up for ideas such as Hamas and Hezbollah. It's like, what the fuck? Am I fucking tripping balls or something?
Right.
Or gays,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. LGBT community. It's like, dude, hello.
Yeah. It's
That sense of hypocrisy comes back into play, man. It's as a moral narcissism, but it's also, do you know what? It's also a bit of, I guess you can call it white supremacy. It's the other side of the same coin, right? The conventional side of white supremacy is, you know, typically the KKK, the white man is superior, the black man, the brown man, fuck them.
right.
But then the other side of the same coin is, you're a black man, I'm a brown man, we're from the Middle East or Africa, and it is our culture to practice female genital mutilation, throwing gays off buildings, hanging apostates.
Right.
It's our culture.
Yeah.
So they're telling us that sense of white supremacy is telling us you have to embrace and respect your own indigenous culture, and you cannot be a free man or woman, right? So it's like that again. It's a mixture of moral narcissism and I guess white supremacy in a sense.
Bro, you couldn't have said it. You couldn't have said it better because it's cultural relativism.
Literally, that's
it's
it.
cultural relativism.
Yeah.
And you know, coming back to you know, my old publisher, so we would always like, so the book that I'm coming out with is a collection of poems.
Yeah.
And so when I send him a poem, we'd workshop the poem, and then would always end up in a debate because he wanted to change the content of my poetry. And wanted to change my mind on what I thought about Islam. Anyway, so
has he read the
he
doctrines?
Read yeah, he read it.
I don't know. I mean, has he read the doctrines of Islam?
Well, I've sent him stuff. He's ignored it, and I sent him you know, the hadith where Muhammad says you know, if anyone leaves the religion, you should kill them.
Yeah, there's several of those, but anyway.
Yeah, one of them is really explicit. It's like
kill the non-believers.
So I sent him to it. I sent him that hadith, and he goes, oh yeah, but maybe it's just a language thing, and it was some BS about language, and just didn't want to accept it. So, and he was an atheist, right? And hated Christianity like no tomorrow, hated it. And so in our conversations, it was very clear to me, right, that for him, he thought, oh, you know, it's cute, you black man who wants to be a part of the Enlightenment, you know.
So he's belittling you.
Yeah, it's you know, it's cute that you want, but it's not for you.
Yeah.
The Enlightenment's for me.
There
The
you go.
Enlightenment's for us, you know, white people, you know, people, you know.
Isn't that racism itself?
It's pure racism.
Yeah.
It's pure racism, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the ex-Muslim plight.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're like politically homeless.
Yeah.
You know, because you have the, you know, the far right wing who would hate us for xenophobic reasons.
Yes.
Right? And you have the far left who would hate us for, you know, for not buying into their own
cultural
racism, their
sensitivity.
For speaking out, for speaking the truth about our own, the ills of our culture, right? And so we're in this no man's land where, and the racist thing about all this is you know, human rights is not a white thing; it's universal.
Yes.
So just because I'm black doesn't mean I don't deserve to have human rights.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what the left is saying. You know, you don't deserve human rights.
Yeah. Well, they won't say that explicitly.
No, they won't. But
they try to justify certain cultures,
right?
Because it's indigenous wisdom or some shit like that, right?
Which at the end of the day
means a lot of shit.
You sit in your corner, you sit in your little, you know, that's who you are.
Yeah.
You are that barbaric person who's killing gay people or whatever it is. That's who you are.
Well, philosophically speaking, bro, it's just a simple appeal to tradition fallacy,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
Now, being an animal rights activist, like we usually appeal to certain cultures because they've been doing it for so long. Who gives a fuck? If something's wrong, you call it out. I don't care if it's part of someone's culture to enslave.
Right.
I don't care if it's part of someone's culture to conduct female genital mutilation or anything for that matter. Why don't we actually look at the policy itself or the act and discuss and use reason and logic to suggest, hey, bro, maybe this is fucking wrong. I don't care if it's part of your culture or not. Objectively, don't care about culture. I really don't.
Yeah.
And that's not a racist thing to say.
No.
Because culture is malleable.
Yes.
Race is not.
That's right.
If you're a black man, you're a black man.
Yeah.
If you're a black man and it's part of your culture to do X, Y, Z, and X, Y, Z may be wrong, I'm going to critique that.
Yes.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
It's really simple logic, but people cannot fathom that. Right? Like they struggle to comprehend these simple laws.
Okay, so why is it? Why do you think that it's so hard? So one of the life philosophy, one of the rules that or life truths that I've learned over the years, is that life is simple, but it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. Right. So what you're describing is it's a simple fact.
Yeah.
Right. It's a simple fact. But why do you think people are either refusing, not accepting this simple fact? What you've just said.
That's a really good question. For the same reason why the truth is always going to be sophisticated. Avoiding the truth is always going to be the easiest. And that aligns with the philosophy of ignorance is bliss, right? If you're living in your own bubble and you happen to be part of the community in any society, let's just look in a vacuum, in a certain society, you happen to be part of some community, ethnic community that is not the oppressed. And you're living in your own bubble, right? Everything's going to be great for you if you live your life in ignorance. Until the moment you look at the truth, the objective truth, and try to enact change through activism, speaking out, and going up against the systems, all of which is going to be risky, and then you're going to suffer some mental health issues. You're not going to get so much sleep. You're going to see all these things and the realities, right? You're going to suffer. You're going to suffer, and that will entail some degree of sophistication in your life, right? And therefore, it goes back to continuous ignorance will give you a blissful life. So let's say a very simple example. If you're a slave owner during the transatlantic slave trade and during the whole abolitionist movement, the slave owner would say, no, this is my means of economic revenue and I'm making a lot of money out of this. And he uses all these bullshit justifications to try and justify your actions. I treat my slaves well. I do this, I do that. It's part of our culture. We've been doing this for hundreds of years. You're going to live your life well. But until the moment you say, nah, man, maybe this is wrong. We should change our ways and change our thoughts. You're going to suffer. So these people are rooted in being lazy. They're just lazy. They don't want to change, right? They want to be comfortable with their lives. And there's always going to be discomfort in change, isn't there? Yeah. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Okay, but what do you think the woke, the far left progressives, who have nothing to do with Islam? It's not part of their culture. It's not. They come from the West. What's what they'll, So are you familiar? I assume you would, but Douglas Murray.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's a gay man. I love him. I fucking love him, man.
Yes, me too, man. Me too. So he talks about, yes, we understand the East hates the West, but there's also an enemy from within, which is,
the West hates the West.
Yes, and there's a certain amount of people in the West, native West, let's just call them native West, who hate the West.
Bro, I love talking about this. It is such a topic that, because of my Iranian background, where particularly Iranians and Iranians as part of the diaspora community, we're just so familiar with. And we see right through the bullshit of, I guess you call it whatever you want, wokeism. We see right through the bullshit of it.
Right? Can I just say?
Yeah.
Can I just say? Yeah. So when I learned, I'm reading a little bit about Iran and what's been going on, what happened historically. Can I just say, like, Iran is a perfect reference point to articulate this madness.
Yeah, it is.
It's perfect.
It's the perfect case study.
It is.
Because it's the single greatest, most significant case study that has happened through contemporary history, where we have this, as they all call it, the unholy alliance of the leftists and the Islamists. And then following that alliance where the Islamists won, what happened to all the leftists?
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking, persecuted, bullied. No, they were fucking massacred.
So this is in Iran in 1979?
So 1979, we had the Islamic Revolution, by which most of the people who conducted the revolution were, it mainly started from university students. A lot of leftists, a lot of socialists, a lot of secularists, a lot of intellectuals, man. A lot of really great intellectuals, like free thinkers, arguably. But then there was a voice, and that voice was echoing from the Islamists.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but they created this alliance with the Islamists to overthrow the Shah at the time, the monarch.
Yeah.
Now, big mistake. I'm not even a monarch, mind you.
Yeah,
many Iranians, we're not monarchists, we're not royalists, we're not pro-monarchy, but whether you are or not, objectively speaking, it was a wrongful revolution. Like, we fucked up. But we learned a lot.
Yeah.
We learned a lot about this unholy alliance. And now we're trying to teach the West, don't fuck it up. Because it is something very serious and detrimental, right? We don't want to see the Australia we all know and love and cherish fall victim to extremism as a result of our own fallacious degree of tolerance.
And narcissism, I'm sorry, it's also it's narcissism too. It's pure narcissism as well. And I think people have gotten too, like Australians have gotten too comfortable with how great Australia is and how comfortable it is, that they've just not even considered that this could be taken away.
Well, freedom is not free.
It's not,
It's not free.
It's not.
We have to continuously stand for it. I think it was Ronald Reagan that said, we're always one day away from dictatorship.
Yeah.
And that's like, I like to use this analogy of winning the jackpot, not winning the jackpot. Like, you work your fucking ass off to become like a millionaire, let's say, right?
Yeah.
It took you days and nights of sleepless nights, right, to do that. You get to that $1 million, but it takes you one night to blow that million, okay? But you have to work your ass off to make that million, right? And you have to continuously strive for that. Or like building a sculpted body, right? It takes a lot of fucking hard work and effort, right? You're a fit dude. You can understand that. Like, so same thing, but it takes you one night to sit down and fucking just chunder on chips and shit. Like,
that's what mortifies me about it.
Same thing with freedom.
And
secularism, right? Yeah.
That's man.
I didn't really answer your question, but like, I'll try to sum it up very simply. So the Iran project, the 1979 Islamic Revolution was arguably the greatest case study for that. Following that, the Soviets saw that, right? And so the Soviets sort of saw that, right? And after the 80s, the Soviets fell in the 90s, 94, I think the Soviet Union fell. So they're like, okay, we need to bring back this empire, socialist empire, left, whatever you want to call it. So we need to start the propaganda machine. And so did the Islamic regime in Iran, right? The reason why the fundamental reason why these two come together, the leftists, and the Islamists is because the leftists love to contain an affinity to the idea of classism, right? Class struggle.
Yeah, right.
The Islamists, on the other hand, like to make this sort of black and white notion of oppressor and oppressed.
Yeah.
The Islamists, therefore, look at the leftists of class struggle and say, we like this.
Yeah.
And the leftists, conversely, say, oh my God, black and white, oppressed versus oppressor. We like this too.
Right.
Come together. It's a marriage of convenience.
Yes. It's not genuine.
Yeah,
it's not
no.
genuine
But if you put a leftist, like a genuine leftist, but mind you, conventionally speaking, I'm a leftist.
Yeah, right.
Right,
Yeah,
as you
same.
are too.
Yeah, same.
We're all for free thought, secularism, and all that sort of
Yeah,
stuff, which is the conventional leftist values that we grew up with.
Right.
But otherwise, when you get them to talk to each other, like a fundamental Islamist versus a leftist, they do not by any means go hand to hand. If anything, when the Islamists come to power, they're going to kill the leftists first before they go after the conservative.
That's right. That's right.
So
that's right.
all us leftists are so far concerned with fuck the conservatives, right? But no, bro, there's someone else around the corner trying to literally kill us.
Oh my God,
the Islamists.
Yes, that's it. I think it was are you familiar with Ayaan Hirsi Ali?
Absolutely, yeah.
Who is
love her, man?
Especially in the space, yeah. I think it was her who said that the West had thought they had dealt with communism and Marxism. They thought they thought they had dealt with it. They thought they had eradicated Marxism and communism, and that the Marxists recognized that because Marxism originally was about class.
Yes,
about,
class struggle.
The proletariat versus the bourgeoisie, and the bourgeoisie had all the power, and the proletariat were, the oppressed. And so she said that the Marxists, realized that, through the Industrial Revolution and, things are looking up, and the Marxists realized, the class stuff is not going to work out because people actually do like their lifestyles and they do like how things are going. Then they pivoted to race.
Yeah.
Because that was a contentious thing at the time. Was race, and they applied the oppressive versus oppressed thing onto race struggles. And I thought that was so brilliant. I thought that was so brilliant and so true.
And that's exactly what the Islamic regime in Iran and the IRGC are so. That's the crux of their propaganda machine. Islamophobia equals racism.
Okay,
right.
So let's talk about that. I was watching an Instagram reel. Yasmin
Muhammad.
Yeah. So this is the first time that I had learned this or heard this, that that the term actually Islamophobia was created in Iran. Is that right?
The Islamic regime conceived it, I guess. The term itself is an English term, Islamophobia.
Of course. Yes.
But it was the Islamic regime in Iran and the IRGC, which its propaganda model is around 50% of its training curriculum today. So they were the ones who aligned, with making Islam inviolate, thereby any criticism of Islam equals bigotry and xenophobia. Yeah. And it's working. It's working well.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Sorry, you're going to...
Yeah. No, that's right. So because I've been accused of being Islamophobic. My publisher withdrawing from working with me because my work is Islamic. I'm Islamophobic. And I'm sure you've been accused of Islamophobia. Or you've had to have that conversation, making that a simple distinction, anti-Muslim bigotry is different to Islamophobia.
Absolutely.
There's
some of my best, most closest, trustworthy friends are Muslims.
Yeah.
Right? I love them to death.
Right.
But there's that clear moral distinction to be made because a Muslim is an individual.
That's right.
Islam is an ideology. It's a set of ideas.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Like an anecdotal example I like to use, I'm a vegan, but I endorse everybody to criticize, mock, and say whatever the fuck you want about veganism That's got nothing to do with me. It's just an idea, just a philosophy, right? I'm a critique of the free market capitalism that we have in place that is responsible for a lot of the environmental destruction that we have in place. But that doesn't mean I hate someone that's a hard worker. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah, separating the idea from the individual is something that we need to do that we're not doing enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And
with Islam.
Yes. And Muslims they've lashed onto this.
Yeah.
They've lashed onto it and have run with it along with the progressive left who have run with this idea that, that to critique an ideology like such as Islam is racism. But that in and of itself is racist.
Exactly.
The idea that this ideology can't be critiqued because what's going to happen? When I was Muslim, I always think people who got so angry about like people critiquing Islam, I used to think I don't resonate with this anger. I don't understand. Because I believed it was true. So I was like, so if it's true, it's going to stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Why do you have to cry and get violent and try and stop people from speaking and violating people's rights because they've critiqued the thing that you claim to believe is true? Why? And then obviously you realize, well, the reason why they're doing that is because Islam's obviously not true. And the foundations is, all you have to do is to bring reason. It's a little bit of reason into
without
Islam.
Lies, Islam dies.
And
the internet today is bringing that upon. Like,
well, let's speak on that because there was I think her name is Magan. I'm so bad with pronouncing her name.
Which one? Is she Iranian?
Iranian, yeah. She's one of the earliest ex-Muslims. She's
Masih Ali-Najad?
No. Mariam Navabi. Jesus Christ.
Does she live in the West or?
Yeah, I believe so. I think she lives maybe in the UK.
Nazanin Bonyadi?
No, man. I have to do it.
Yeah,
I have to pull it up because
it's interesting. You mentioned like Yasmin Mohammed. Great book, by the way.
Yeah.
She mentioned this one scenario where she was forcefully married to an an Al Qaeda member, high-ranking one.
Yes.
Long story short, that the part where she went to the authorities to report the abuse that she was receiving, and a lot of white Westerners were calling her Islamophobic because she was being culturally insensitive.
Yeah.
And she was the one being abused. Right? And that's the epitome of what we see today, where like women in Iran, women in North Africa, women in the Middle East are literally yelling and screaming to tell the world, we don't want this. We want to be free. Yet the white girl says, no, you're being Islamophobic. During the whole woman life freedom movement in Iran, like at the peak of it, the amount of times I've seen, forget about Islamists, I already know what they're going to say, but it baffled me to see a lot of lefties be like, this is an Islamophobic movement. I'm like, you're supposed to be on our side.
It's crazy. It's madness. Yeah. I found the Maryam Namazi.
Maryam Namazi.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think she's Iranian.
Yeah. The name seems like it. Maybe Afghan or Iranian. But yeah.
So I think she's the one who I think this quote is accredited to her.
Yeah.
But I think it's her. Could be someone else. But anyway, one of the ex-Muslims said it. Older, ex-Muslim said it. But that the internet is doing to Islam what the printing press did to Christianity.
Through the Reformation project of Christianity.
That's right. And just the dissemination of information.
Absolutely.
Access to information.
Yeah.
The access. Because I wouldn't have connected with you had it not been for the internet. You know what I mean? And other people that I've connected with online, So the internet's just it's it's amazing.
It
It's
is.
amazing.
Have you seen Richard Dawkins' like project that he's been conducting for many years now, where he's allowing his books to be printed and translated, obviously on the down low, in all these Arab countries in the Middle East and whatnot for free.
It's amazing.
I'm like, what a fucking champion.
I know.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's
Yeah.
amazing. Look, Ali, unfortunately, time has run out.
Yeah.
So we have to end this conversation. I'm back, go on for another.
Yeah, I've got so much to say.
Yeah. Well, maybe I can have you on next time. We can talk about your activism.
Sure,
So, 'cause, you know,
absolutely, bro. Yeah,
do you
legend,
wanna-
yeah.
Yeah. All right, bro, thank you so much for joining me, man. I really appreciate it.
No dramas at all. Good to be here.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. All right, guys. Peace out.